Good evening once again to TV3 SportsLive. I'm Mike Laderman, and with me, as always, Mr. Ken Lewis for what is now Week 5.
We are here. We are in Week 5. We're excited. The TV3 mugs are going.
Mugs. This is the anniversary show, the 5-week anniversary show that we've been on.
We've been through a lot. I was just reflecting on that earlier in the day, how much we've been through together. And I do want to say, I want to get the opportunity to tell you, Mike Laderman, working alongside of you has been a special event in my life. You are truly a man of class.
Well, thank you.
I want the viewers to know that.
I'll tell you what, you are the man. I've always said, you know what, since this is our 5th week, let's make this like this is our last show.
Yes, and that means we need caller participation tonight. We want to hear from everybody.
We want that. We want, I don't know, what do you do when you pretend it's like a last show or something? I don't know. It's you got to make it good. You got to really make it good.
We're gonna go out on a limb tonight. We're gonna talk about a few topics. We've got a little Heat action going on.
We got the man from the Heat too, Mr. Harvey Fialco of the Associated Press is going to be with us in approximately 10 minutes or so, talking about the Heat. We had some big Heat changes in the past 2 and 3 weeks. Kevin Lockery gone. A few players starting to get some action, such as Minor, so we're going to be talking a lot about that.
Very interesting what's going on with the Heat and what's going to come on, whether they're going to keep Gentry as a coach or whether he's just an interim coach. But a lot of fans out there in the South Florida area are certainly intrigued about what's going to happen with the Heat and what's happened with this franchise. This was a franchise, of course, that was a model franchise in its early stages. Kind of had a collapse.
A
colossal collapse, but under the Lockery era. And now we're moving on, and we're going to see what transpires with this team. It's going to be interesting.
Well, we'll get to that in a little bit, but before that, we got a lot of other key issues that you want to get in when you're in the 5th week of the program and when you're making it out so that it's, say, your final show. We got things like the Greg Louganis issue.
Greg Louganis, a very troubling issue when you look back at it. And again, it's that question that comes up time and time again. Does an athlete have an obligation to protect others when he's in a situation, albeit a very difficult one, and certainly it was for Greg Louganis. But when you picture what happened with the blood in the pool, the next diver scheduled to dive, the doctor who had no knowledge of Louganis' disease, running his fingers through his head, especially at that earliest stage in the disease where it was really not known how that spreads and how it transpires. It really, a lot of troubling issues come up with that, and you don't fault Louganis as a person, but again, you reflect on what is going on and what the risk is in athletics today with this disease, and do you think any other precautions should be taken?
Here's what I like about the entire thing, is that people who say, well, wait a second, he jumped in the pool, and this is chlorine, so it really didn't matter. Excuse me, if chlorine really would have been so good enough to stop it, chlorine would be the cure for HIV and AIDS, So,
That's a very good point.
Anybody who's out there to say, well, the chlorine would have killed the virus, sorry, but they'd be injecting people with chlorine right now, so don't even think about that. I mean, you got to think to yourself, he was risking himself, he was risking others, and he had to know it. And it was very foolish of him not to come out and say.
Well, I agree, and I think he had an obligation to come out, and I think there are others like him out there, because the way this disease works, where you have AIDS and it's not full-blown AIDS from the onset. You test HIV positive and the disease hasn't gone into full gear, but if you pass it on to somebody that's immune system is more susceptible to the virus, then they're going to have full-blown AIDS in no time, and that person that originally passed on the disease may or may not even show with the disease. So it's a very, very complicated issue, and it just opens up a whole myriad of issues, whether in medicine, doctors and nurses have an obligation, dentists, but this is a sports show. We're talking about the Louganis incident, and I think we agree that he had an obligation to say something, and certainly at the very least to that doctor that was stitching him up right when the thing happened.
That's called not thinking at all, not thinking whatsoever. And one thing about thinking, you don't expect when you're swimming to get cut. That's one thing. So maybe he didn't think that. However, you still have the obligation.
And to wait, I mean, that was 1988. You would think that the way we're talking about it, this was something that he's pondered for a couple weeks. This is something that we're talking about 7 years later that this has come to the forefront here. Very, very disturbing. Very, very disturbing.
Well, on some even more disturbing notes, let's go into the boxing right now. We have Gerald McClellan still in, I believe, intensive care. As for the incident that happened over this past weekend, his fight against Nigel Benn, he had a large blood clot removed from his brain after that fight, and that's a very sad incident as far as boxing is concerned. They're starting to get back on track a little bit. Yes, Tyson's coming out, so that would be some more maybe positive and even some negative PR. However, something like this comes along, and a boxer is almost sent to I hate to say it, but the deathbed.
Boxing is very sad, and I really feel that there's a problem with professional boxing as it exists today. I mean, you go back to the Ray Mancini Duck Kim fight. This has been happening for years.
A decade and a half ago, absolutely.
This has been happening for years, and I think the sport had some integrity at that time, so I would agree that it should have continued. There were fighters that got in shape. I mean, when Ali, Foreman, and Frazier were fighting, there were challengers like Ernie Shavers. There were guys that would show up in shape to fight. Now, you've got guys showing up 260 pounds. They win the title. They're 270 pounds.
Buster Douglas, perfect example.
Tyson loses to Buster Douglas, the man you just brought up, clearly gets knocked out, and then they try and fix the fight for Tyson. The integrity of the sport is in question, and when you combine a sport that has no integrity with a danger for the very lives of the individuals that are taking place in what's going on, I really think you've got to re-examine the whole structure of boxing and see where you want to go with this.
Well, you can't, though, look at this and say, well, this is really bad for the sport as far as PR-wise or something. What you want to say is this is just bad as far as people saying to themselves, you know, this is a brutal sport, and that's the bottom line. The European people were saying this is very brutal, and they want it to stop. They don't want boxing anymore.
Well, every major sport that's out there, there are measures taken to protect the athlete. What measures have been taken in boxing to prevent this reoccurring problem that the sport has? And there have been no measures because the sport is governed by money. And there is a thirst for violence out there the general public has, me included. I will admit it. I'm not going to shy away from it. I want to see somebody knocked out when I watch a boxing match.
Mr. Rocky over here. We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to TV3 Sports Live. Who's this?
Hi, this is Fred.
Hi, Fred. How you doing?
Good, good. Listen, I wanted to ask you a question about Mike Tyson. Who do you think he's going to fight first when he gets out of jail?
Well, Foreman wants him. I don't know if he's going to get Foreman, though.
Well, here's what's going to happen, in my opinion. I think you're going to have Tyson go up against a bunch of tomato cans, much like he did when he came back after the Douglas fight, because the public out there wants to see that he's still in shape. He's going to go out there against a couple tomato cans. He's going to make short work of them in the first round, and then we're going to talk about the biggest payday in boxing history, and I agree with you, it's going to be against Big George.
Well, you know, Foreman had a very good comment, which is any boxer out there wants to fight Mike Tyson as soon as he gets out because Tyson is not in shape. And as Foreman said, you cannot stay in shape when you're in jail. And that's the truth. I mean, if
I'm sorry to differ there. I think he's gonna come out in great shape. He's been lifting weights now for over a year. He's been working out in jail. Come on, this guy's going to be a monster when he does get out.
Well, Fred, there's one thing you need to know. He's been in there 3.5 years. In boxing is a skills sport, and your skills can erode. No matter how much he trained in prison, he was not allowed to throw one punch or make a motion like he was throwing a punch in 3.5 years. And that will affect him. But, again, with the level of competition that he's going up against, his own natural skills will prevail against anybody he faces, and he's going to do fine.
Yeah, Mike Tyson is a beast, no matter what. 3 years ago and even now, there's no one that can touch him. And it's going to make for the biggest payday in boxing history when that man does come out.
I agree, but I think the prototypical big fighter with a strong left jab, there's not one out there right now, will give Mike Tyson trouble. Now, that fighter doesn't exist today.
All right, Fred, hey, we thank you for your call. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It brings up a good point. I mean, seriously, who is better than Mike Tyson even in jail?
No one. And it's funny, Buster Douglas with his comeback attempt, I mean, how can you take these fighters serious? Howard Davis Jr., he was a 1976 gold Olympian, a lightweight, has just announced his comeback. Yeah. What the sport? It's again the integrity of the sport.
Well, that's
it's laughable.
Lack of integrity, but you can't say that when a man gets knocked out and is hurt physically, as such was Gerald McLennan. That has really nothing to do with integrity of the game itself, as such as the farces which you see with Mike Tyson coming out. That's really a farce. You have to say Mike Tyson coming out of jail and being able to make so much money against the likes of George Foreman or anybody else for that matter. That's a farce as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I would agree with you, and that's a problem. Any sport driven by money, and that's why I want to turn to baseball right now.
Money, cha-ching, yeah, baseball.
Baseball, and our update on baseball is nobody cares.
Still nobody cares. No, you're absolutely right. Did you see the game over at Hallandale Yankee Stadium the other night?
I didn't, and I will refuse to take an interest until they get serious, until there's some kind of agreement here, and people are driven by something other than greed, and I haven't seen it.
Well, Saturday night they had the Joe DiMaggio benefit baseball game over at Fort Lauderdale Yankee Stadium, where they had close to 5,000 or 6,000 people out there to watch the likes of Tug McGraw, Willie Randolph, Louis Tiant, George Foster, and Mickey Rivers out there playing baseball. And a lot of people said, and I got a kick out of this, is that, these players were there when it was really just a game. But you know what? That's really a bunch of BS, because these are the players themselves who started making the money and started whining about the money. George Foster in particular, when he was with the Cincinnati Reds, he hit, 50 home runs one year?
52 home runs.
Okay, 52 home runs. And the next year, he wanted to renegotiate the salary. It went up and up and up. Finally, he ends up going to the New York Mets for more than $1 million. And it's players like that who, you say, oh, well, they loved the game. They loved the money.
I agree, but you know what's funny? Even then, when they say they were going for $1 million, now, in 5 years, the salary went from people demanding $1 million, I want to be a millionaire, to I want to be making $6 million a year, till in Glenn Robinson in basketball this year, I want to be making $100 million on a contract. When does it end? And that's the real problem with the game.
It's trivial. And speaking of trivia, or trivial, something like that, we're going to segue into this. We have a trivia question here, the Week 5 TV3 SportsLive trivia question. And hopefully we can get it on the board if we can. If not, we're still going to read it to you. Name the first Miami Heat player to appear in the NBA's three-point contest. And there you see it. To get in touch with us, 454-6356 in Dade, 454-6356 in Broward. And from Alaska now, area code 305-454-6356. You get this great mug, Ken, huh? Let's see that.
This mug.
Look at these TV3 mugs, huh?
These mugs have been known to have psychic powers. Very special mugs.
Perhaps, I think there also is a limit. If you've already won one of these mugs, you have to wait till next week's show before you can win again. Once again, that question, name the first Miami Heat player to appear in the NBA's three-point contest. And speaking of the Heat, when we come back from this break, we're going to have the Heat's AP beat writer, Harvey Fialkov, next on TV3 Sports Live.
I don't know, I'm missing something there.
This is New Guinea.
It's so powerful.
I don't see it.
I'm having an out-of-decade experience. I was walking and came upon a fountain which bore the sign, "Don't drink the water."
Do you get
the beggar
this?
carries a
Isn't
sign
it
saying, "I'm
fantastic?"
blind." What does this poem mean to me? It's like a collage of images.
Let's
and
face it,
sounds.
not every cultural activity appeals to everyone.
Finding an oasis.
So we're giving you something everyone likes, a choice. That's why 23,000 arts and humanities groups are inviting you to find something you can get excited about. Just call for a free brochure about what's going on in your community.
I think I'm getting into this.
They're tuning up.
The arts and humanities, there is something in it for you. There's a lot going on in your community. For a free brochure on how to get involved, call our toll-free number.
Rivalries. To understand the loyalty, you must understand the hostility. These pockets of ill will are the only places where animosity remains politically correct. It may even be unclear what matters more. Your team's victory or the other team's defeat. These rivalries, they may be nasty. These rivalries, they may be wrathful. These rivalries, they are not pretty, but my, oh my, they are fun.
Hi, this is my buddy Don Shula.
And we're part of the Best Buddies volunteer movement, establishing one-to-one friendships between the non-disabled and people with developmental disabilities. We have an easy way for you to help our cause and clean the environment. All you do is donate your unwanted vehicle to our car recycling program and get a tax deduction. Recycle for Best Buddies will pick up your unwanted vehicle for free. So make a difference. Call 1-800-213-8800.
You're watching Selkirk's community programming channel, TV3 Hallandale.
If you took away a star for every 1 million people who didn't vote, and a stripe for every 5 million non-voters, and a patch of blue for the 10 million people who didn't care, exactly what kind of flag are we waving?
Welcome back to TV3 Sports Live. There you see our trivia question of the evening. Name the first Miami Heat player to appear in the NBA's three-point contest. To get in touch with us, 454-6356. If you know the answer, please give us a call. And if not, well, hey, give us a call because we're talking Miami Heat basketball tonight with very special guest, Mr. Harvey Fialkov of the Associated Press.
Right.
Harvey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for the invite, Mike.
Anytime you want to come by, just let me know. Next week. How about next week? Next week.
Well, how much you paying?
Oh, I don't know. Let's, is there going to be a good Heat team next week to talk about? Should we get you back here, or are they still going to be slumping and losing to the likes of Minnesota? What is this?
Ooh. Miami tepid, you mean? The Miami lukewarm?
Yeah.
I don't know, Mike. There's been so many changes that it's tough to keep up with it. First, early in the season, the trades, it's a whole new team, and now we have a whole new management. So it's tough to go through 1 year like that with all these changes and still try and make a playoff. It's not realistic at this point. Although I do think that Billy Owens is really starting to feel comfortable. It's becoming Billy Owens' team right now.
Oh, that's good to know when you have about 35 games left to go or something that he's finally getting comfortable.
Well, it's not West Coast, East Coast. He's had 3 coaches this year.
It's only a 3-hour difference, Harvey. Come on, don't give me this West Coast, East Coast stuff.
It's a lifestyle change. I mean, but really, it's a basketball change. You're talking about playing out west, the wild, wild west, up and down the court, to the east, which is more half-court type game.
Kevin Willis's game.
Kevin Willis's game, that's another story. I mean, in a way, it was Willis for cycling. I know that wasn't the trade, but in essence, that's what occurred. Do you see a big difference in the two? I don't. Cycling gave you 12 boards, 15 points every night. Willis gives you maybe 17 points and 13 rebounds a night. Although sometimes Willis takes some nights off. Ronnie didn't take too many nights off unless Shaq was coming to town.
Well, there's one thing you learned back in grade school, and that is you start building an NBA franchise with a center. And what they did was they had one of the top 10 centers in the league, and they traded him for a guy.
You are incredible. You know
Mike,
that? You are
for a man.
Listen to
32 years old. You do not pick up a Kevin Willis unless you need one player to contend for an NBA championship on that given year. What compelled the Heat to do that? They were not going to contend for a championship this year.
That was Shifty Chappelle. He was getting, everybody wanted a change. They were pushing him for QAM, was, just blowing him off the air. When are you going to do something? And finally, he realized the team was about to be sold. Before I go, let me make a few changes.
For the sake of change?
For the sake of change.
Do you know why you're incredible? I hate to interrupt you, Harvey, but I got to tell you why this man's incredible.
I knew we were going to get back to that.
This is exactly right.
This is personal.
This man, last week, well, no, I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, we were off on President's Day, as we know you were.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, we're talking Panther hockey, and you build the team around a good goaltender. And this man says, let's trade the Beezer because we need offense now. And now you're saying, the way you build an NBA team is around a center. It's the same philosophy, Ken. So don't even start playing little games.
This man
here.
needs to go into politics. He's very tricky with his words. Totally different situation.
Fitzpatrick is a good goaltender.
Okay.
He's a good goaltender.
Patrick is a great goaltender who's going to be the goaltender of the future.
Wrong. In the future, when the future comes and when the future gets here, let me know. So anyway, about the Miami Heat.
How do we get to the ice?
I don't know.
My point on Willis.
Go back to let's go in chronological order now. Okay. As for what happened this year, first the big trade that went on early on in the year when you say goodbye to Cycli. And you bring in Billy Owens coming in. Was that a good trade, do you think? Did it affect the team a lot?
At the time, you didn't think it was a good trade because, like Ken said, where was the center that you were getting?
Right.
I mean, Matt Geiger, was he ready to step in to fight the Ewings and the Elijah ones of the world? I don't think so. Was Owens going to play point guard, point forward, power forward, and center? I don't think so.
Did Lockery think so? Because it ended up Geiger getting a lot of playing time.
Well, the trade, Lockery had nothing to do with the trade. It was all Chaffel and Cunningham. Geiger, granted, has improved steadily over the last 3 years. He's a pretty good offensive player at this point. His rebounding still is lacking.
And he rises to the level of his competition. He feasts on worse competition. When he plays, he doesn't match up well against the best centers in the league at all.
He's very hesitant.
He seems hesitant. Who in your eyes is this team's starting center?
Oh boy, I think Harvey Fialkov.
I can post you up.
I don't think they really have one. If you got to play a lineup as far as the center, do you go with Sally? You know, make him a center there. Do you want to keep Geiger in there because when you play a good team, you're not going to get much out of there?
Geiger right now is the answer. Maybe it's not an answer to be a playoff team, but he's the best they have right now. He has improved.
But they are a playoff team. You can't help it. But they're a playoff team.
No, they're still about three teams. They're still 3 teams away from the playoffs. You got the Bucks, the Nets, and the Celtics.
They're just
ahead
2 games back, though, aren't they?
I think it's a little more than that, Mike.
2.5.
Check your standings.
But
all I know is Sally has never been the answer. Even in Detroit, when they won the championships, was he the starting center? No. Lambier, nasty Lambier. And they had Mahorn. I mean, Sally gave you 6, 7, 8 minutes a game. Granted,
7 points a game.
He was clutch in the playoffs. I'll give him that. He's a good defensive player. But a starting center, he never was and never will be.
No, I agree with that. But I think that the same thing. Who is their starting center? Who is this team's starting 2 guard?
Well, they've had Billy Owens there. I don't think
Again,
that's the answer.
He
Billy
is not
Owens,
a 2 guard.
Billy Owens should be like Larry Bird was, like a point forward. Larry Bird was the best point forward in the history of basketball. And I think they should, let's speed up the process for Khalid Reeves. This kid could play ball. They don't have a point guard. Bimbo Coles, he could penetrate, but he can't dish when he penetrates. The plates are the cupboard is bare. Now, Steve Smith, their previous point guard, he couldn't even penetrate. He could drive baseline, he could shoot from the outside. So they haven't had a point guard since Sherman Douglas was in town. I think Reeves can penetrate, he can dish, and early in the season he took over some games down the stretch and showed that he could be a crunch player.
When there was just that one trade made for Owens to come in, did you think that was okay as long as you had the rest of the team with Long here and Smith here? Was that okay right then and there?
When it was just Owens for cycling?
Yeah.
No, because they had nobody in the middle. It was like a big donut, a big hole in the middle. Who was going to be? Geiger wasn't ready at that time. Nobody thought. And still, I don't think he's the answer.
No, they led you to believe that maybe they were going to bring somebody else in at that point, and that never materialized.
Right. Well, then they did a week later. They did. They pulled the trigger on.
But again, no
Long.
center.
Well, Kevin Willis is supposedly power forward.
He's not. And with Chaffel Cunningham, I think you look at their history, they have traditionally been led to go with guys who they feel can be versatile. And they wind up with these guys that they want to be jack of all trades, but they're really master of none. And it all started with the trade you mentioned in 1992 in January when they traded Sherman Douglas, a true point guard, a guy that you could say, okay, this guy, when the game's on the line, he's going to get to the foul line because he's going to penetrate, and he will distribute to the other players who will shoot, and if we've got good enough players to put it through the hoop, Sherman Douglas will put it in their hands, and they will score. They get a guy in Brian Shaw, a 42% lifetime shooter, who they say, well, this guy can play point guard, this guy can play shooting guard, maybe even a little small forward, and it never materialized. And it's the same logic that you've got with, you have a perfectly good small forward, you get another player in Billy Owens who can play small forward, start playing guys where they belong and fill your positions, one position at a time with players that belong in that position, and you will win basketball games. And the Heat has not subscribed to that philosophy. In fact, they have completely mutilated that philosophy, and that's where we are today.
They've always had an abundance of small forwards. Too many small forwards. I mean, what are you going to do? The Willie Burton and Glenn Rice and Billy Owens came along. You're right. They have to be more specific. They have to peg these guys for positions. And right now, Glenn Rice is confused. I mean, Billy Owens has the ball, and what is he? Forward? He's the 2 guard.
Does anybody have really or know their role on the team? Do they have the roles? Has it been explained to them? I know under Lockery, I mean, it was back and forth, it seemed, trying to find the right chemistry and the right lineup, and we never really saw it. Even through his dismissal a week and a half ago, you still were not sure which team was going to show up, who was going to play what position.
I feel for Kevin a bit. This year was turned into total chaos, I mean, with the trades. Before he got canned. I mean, the guy, he couldn't figure out who his starting lineup was until like 30 games into the season. He finally got comfortable the last few weeks with Billy Owens, number 2, Bimbo, Rice,
who do you
Geiger,
fault for that?
and Willis.
Do you fault Lockery for that because he kept on experimenting and not sticking with one for more than 4 or 5 days?
No, Mike, he didn't have a training camp for these guys. I mean, he didn't know what talents were going to blend with whose talents. That's a difficult thing to take. Look, as Lockery pointed out, every team that had major upheaval this year is struggling right now. Atlanta's starting to play better, but Golden State, Washington, they're all in the dumper.
Let's talk about the trade with Atlanta. first, going towards the second week of the season, it happened.
Right.
Smith gone and Long gone. How key was that to the Heat's misfortunes this year?
Well,
especially Long.
I think I agree with you, Mike. Steve Smith, Mr. Dream Team, right? They dubbed him this in his second year of ball. The guy never proved anything. He had all the talent in the world, I almost want to equivocate him with a Darryl Strawberry type, without the drugs, without
unlimited potential.
Unlimited.
Sure.
He hasn't tapped his talent to this point. The kid did not give you 40 minutes, 45 minutes a night. Granted, his mom died, big setback. Adjusting from college to the NBA was tough. And he had 2 knee surgeries. He had some problems on the side, but still, he didn't have that heart. The guy to give you, like if he had Bimbo Cole's heart, they had to do a little transplant, Cole's into Smith's. Forget it. Steve Smith would be starting all-star.
Well, one thing back to what I said earlier again is with Steve Smith, he was another player that they were all excited. He can play 2 guard, he can be a small forward, he can play some point for me. They traded Douglas and they pushed Steve Smith into that role as point guard, and he is not a natural point guard in this league. I saw that from the beginning. A lot of people saw that from the beginning, but they insisted on making him their point guard, and then when they realized that wouldn't work, they really gave up on him. He didn't settle in as a 2 guard at that point because they were disappointed in him. They pictured him as being their point guard. And he started off slow in Atlanta, and he's really come on the last couple of weeks, if you notice. He's putting in about 25 a night and has been shooting the lights out.
Well, you know what? So let's go back, though, to last year then. As far as last year, the team that made the playoffs, and Harvey covering games with you down at the arena a few times, we talked about it, how this team back then last year could beat any team on any given night. Right. And I remember vividly the game against Seattle late in the year, if you recall that one, where they owned Seattle that night. And it was a close game throughout, but it was Miami's game. They dictated the play, and they won with the lineup of Smith in there and Long and Cycli. And you really said to yourself, if they gave it the full 48, this is a team that's going to win.
A year later, similar results. Look at last week. They beat Cleveland in Cleveland. They come home and they beat the Bulls down the stretch. Granted, the Bulls aren't the same, but still, Scottie Pippen's on the floor, and that makes them a formidable opponent.
This is once every 10 games, whereas last year with that lineup, it seemed every other game at least, you knew they were going to come out and win.
The only consistent thing about the Heat this year is their inconsistent play. Down the line. Glenn Rice started up like a house of fire, looked like an all-star year, and then boom, he starts slumping. He can't hit a shot. Then he goes to the All-Star game and is the three-point king. It's tough to explain this team. Harold Miner, the only thing this kid seems to be doing well is dunking. Can that make you...
With nobody guarding him.
Nobody on him, right. Can that make you an all-star in this league? I don't know. I'd like to see Gentry. It appears he is going to give Harold Miner a chance to prove himself, finally. Although Lockery did give him a few opportunities early in the year. But it seemed like there was a personality conflict there, guys. Those two did not get along. Period.
We just got about a minute before next break. Real quick, how can Gentry do?
I think this is a test for him right now. This is his acid test, his last 30 games or so. Right now, he's labeled as interim. If they want to drop the interim, he better start winning some games. He's going with Miner in more, it's at crunch time, so to speak, the other day against the Bulls. He brought him in. I think he should go with Reeves, and I think he can identify with the players better than Kevin Lockery. He's younger, he's black, which helps in the NBA. He can identify with the players, and he's just got his own ideas. But basically, he is a Kevin Lockery disciple. I haven't seen many changes so far.
Well, let's about a minute to go now. Let's throw up this trivia question one more time here. We're going to stick with you here, Harvey, so don't go away. We're going to have you come back for the next segment. Trivia question one more time. Here we go. Name the first Miami Heat player to appear in the NBA's three-point contest. And to get in touch with us, 454-6356, 454-6356. I can't do that with all the fingers. Haven't gotten an answer yet to that. And we got the mugs. We got the mugs, huh?
Can I take a guess at this?
No, not right now.
We don't want to give out hints yet, but...
Give us a call, get the mug. We may be giving away 5 mugs. Who knows? Because this is the 5th anniversary.
This is the big show.
Give us a call if you know it, and stay with us because we'll be back right after these messages.
South Floridians love their hats. At Broward Community College, you can choose the hat that fits you best. Our classes are not too large. Our tuition is not too high, and BCC's 50 career programs guarantee the right fit. That means our graduates are very successful and wear lots of stylish hats in our community. So come over to BCC and check out our headgear. We know that we have one style that will look great on you. Broward Community College, it's good for your head.
You're watching Selkirk's community programming channel, TV3 Hallandale.
Boxers aren't born. Bobby Corey, Tony Tubbs, Terrell Biggs, Elijah Tillery. They're made. Frazier, Robinson Cuesta, Charles Murray, Iran Barley, Prince Charles William England Thomas, Michael Glenn, Hicks, Buster Rick Spain, J.L. When they were ready, they all fought on Top Rank Boxing. See who's ready now. Top Rank Boxing on ESPN.
Welcome back to TV3 Sports Live. We have your trivia question on the screen once again. Name the first Miami Heat player to appear in the NBA's three-point contest. Hint, hint, it's not Glenn Rice. Please, we're looking at like 1988 or 89. 89, I think it was.
Ronnie Cycli?
Not Ronnie Cycli either.
Name anyone at all.
The number to get in touch with us here, 454-6356. Give us a call if you know the trivia question. And hey, give us a call too, because we're talking Miami Heat basketball tonight with Harvey Fialkov of the Associated Press. 454-6356 is the number all over South Florida. Call us. Yes. Harvey, we were talking in between the breaks. Stay with us here.
Albert walked in.
We're right here. Yes. We're talking about Kevin Lockery. Did he get a bum rap?
He had more than his share of time to get this team. Although last year he did have a good season there. The best season ever. Wins. They made it to playoffs. They had Atlanta on the brink of elimination.
2-1, yeah.
They couldn't put them away at home. That game, that hurt. I think that was the beginning of Lockery's end. But then this year, they couldn't win a game in the crunch time. I mean, I think the stat now is 3-13. 3 wins, 13 losses when the game was decided by 7 points or less. When Lockery was there, it might have been like 2-12 or something like that. To me, a lot of that blame has to fall on the coach's shoulders.
So what would you have done different? Not that you would ever, second guess Lockery. I've never seen that before. No, but if you were Lockery, how would you have played it?
Well, perhaps we were talking earlier. Why not use Kevin Gamble's talents? Right now on this team, Glenn Rice is the only outside shooter. He's been that way for 3 years already. So crunch time, every team sags. They double Glenn. So this guy, he can't breathe. But if you got Kevin Gamble in the game, hey, let's double team Glenn, but let's shoot the ball over to Gamble. Gamble, when his feet are square and set, he can knock it down with anybody in the NBA. That's one option. Another option is for Bimbo to get the ball down low to Willis, because he's going to get fouled or he can make the little 2-foot. But Bimbo, that's not one of his strengths. I'm sorry. Bimbo's a feisty little guy, tenacious defense. He sparks a team, but he's not one. He can't deliver the interior pass, and he's also not great at dishing on the run.
Well, then I guess you can't really blame Kevin Lockery for all this. I mean, it has to go straight to the talents that they had coming into this game. If they didn't do it in college, they're not going to do it in the pros right away unless it's drilled into them.
It's like a carpenter without his tools. I mean, you got to have the talent. It seems now they're starting to mesh a little better. Billy Owens, I'm telling you, he's starting to take over this team. He's an exciting player. I don't know. The arena has been kind of a funereal, if that's the word I may use. So the Panthers have sucked The Panthers sucked the electricity out of that arena from the Heat last year, and it carried over this year. But now it's starting to get juiced up again. Owens, man, this guy gets a rebound and goes coast to coast. He's flying every which way.
He got juiced up once in the past.
Mike, he's averaging about 17 a game.
No, I'm saying the arenas got juiced up once, and that was against Chicago. Other than that, me and Ken went down there when we covered the Knick game down. You know, with all
that was pretty exciting.
It was
New York fans.
Oh, Knicks fans, come on. The arena's been nothing. That was towards. Was Gentry in back then when we saw that, or was that Lockery's?
I think those were the days of Lockery.
Lockery.
The days of wine
they did
and
back-to-back the two games when Mason and Ewing. Mason just like dominated.
The back-to-back games, right? No interior defense.
They have no
was played
answer
by the
for
Heat.
Anthony
It was
Mason.
ugly.
No.
Lowhouse was in there. We didn't know what was happening. Lowhouse against the Knicks. Why he was put on the court. It's
why
a banging team like the Knicks, and you have Lowhouse out there trying to get physical.
In, though, doesn't he? Doesn't Lowhouse think he can hit the three? And
Lowhouse can hit the three. It's proven. She's shooting about 44% from three-point. But he gives up a lot on. He can't rebound, and he's too frail. He's getting pushed out of there in the blocks. At least Geiger and Wills have some beef.
Miami, though, isn't a very physical team. Well, they should be, but they haven't been playing like it. And here's what I've noticed this year: no emotion. No emotion as compared to years past when they were a nice, feisty team. You got to remember that team when they first made the playoffs that year. That team hustled and hustled and hustled their butts off 48 minutes, even into the overtime periods, because you knew if they weren't going to lose, it would be close and close enough to tie at the end. That team, the key word was hustle, and you hardly see it this year. You saw it against Cleveland. You saw it against Chicago. But when else do you see the hustle?
No on-the-court leader. I think that's a lot of hustle comes from having an on-the-court leader, and I don't think you have that with this team. Do you see an on-the-court leader with this team?
I think that's a disease that permeates the NBA. I mean, you're not seeing that those players that give you 48 minutes a night. Sports Illustrated did a big article on a few weeks ago about the crybabies.
Perfect coverage.
They don't want to practice. And Harold Miner, the guy went to L.A. to get his knee checked or something and hung out in L.A. for a week there. Where was Harold? And then he comes back, and you could see he wasn't really putting out for Kevin at one point, and that hurts a team spirit. Now, Bimbo Coles is their on-court leader right now. But I think Billy Owens is starting to steal the mantle from Bimbo, and rightly so, because Billy Owens can do more things on the court than Bimbo can. So we'll see. In the next few weeks, I think you're going to see even a greater shift towards Billy Owens, and whether or not he can get anybody else in the game. Like, can Glenn Rice get his 18 shots a game? Can Wills get his 12 shots in the post? Because if Wills gets the ball, you know he's going to get his 12 shots. Because they thought that Cycli was the black hole. When Kevin Wills sees the ball, nobody else does afterwards.
But that was no secret around the league. That's the whole thing. It's like we're finding out things about Kevin Willis that everybody knew, and now he's 32 years old, and we've got him. Lucky us. It doesn't make any sense.
He's giving you 18.6 points a game, 11 rebounds a game. The stats are there, but you're right. Is he giving you that day in and day night? He takes some nights off on the court. I mean, some nights he'll come up with 25 points, 18 rebounds. The next night, 6 points, 6 rebounds. Ronnie gave it to you every night.
What we're doing is we're looking for a solution to the Miami Heat. If you know it, get in touch with us, 454-6356. Somebody out there got to be able to coach this team to a playoff mark. Right now, they're 20-33. They're in the thick of the playoff chase, within 3 or 4 games of this, the 8th and final spot. And, playoff fever is really gripping Miami. And, I'm shaking right now just thinking about it. To be a good, solid team that's 9 under 500 and make the playoffs, what do they got to do?
Well, I think they got to install Reeves at the starting point guard, move Glenn Rice back to the 2 guard so he could post up the smaller guards. Billy Owens could be your point forward. And then you got to go with Willis and Geiger, interchange them center and forward. And then bring guys like Bimbo off the bench, Miner off the bench earlier in the games, Kevin Gamble when you need another shooter on the court. And just hopefully that they'll play harder for Alvin Gentry.
They've tried this, though. I mean, with at least 15 different changes in the year throughout lineups and stuff. Don't you think they've tried this at some point and found it not to be successful?
Well, I think Billy Owens is the key. He really looks like he's finally adapted, and right now he could be. This kid is an all-star in my mind. For next year, years to come, he's got to be comfortable with his system. You got to give him the ball and let him take charge. And like I said, I think Harold Miner, I think there is talent. There's a basketball player waiting to burst out of his body. Will we see it in our lifetime? Is really up to Harold Miner, maybe Alvin Gentry.
Well, you see it day in and day out in the Heat locker room. How are they with the changeover from Lockery to Gentry?
Very professional. Glenn Rice is laid-back guy. Who's ever there, whoever's in charge, you know, these guys will play for him, it seems. Kevin Willis, these guys, I don't think they care who's coaching, tell you the truth.
No, they're happy.
They just want to go out there and put in their time, and
They're not
hopefully.
happy. How could you be happy at 20 and 33?
They seem happy right now. I think they are happy with the change. Lockery maybe wore out his welcome after a while, and Gentry may be a breath of fresh air. I think that's why Mickey Harrison made the change. He wanted a clean sweep.
Kevin's was an ego on wheels. There's no doubt about it. And certain players had trouble getting along with Kevin Lockery. That doesn't mean the talent is here to win under Alvin Gentry. And just because they like the coach, you're going to transform 12 individuals into a playoff caliber basketball team, because it's not going to happen, because they don't have 5 players that can assume the starting positions. Like you said, move Billy Owens, you want him to be your starting forward. Then Glenn Rice is out of his natural position. The bright spot, though, and we can talk positive on this show, Khalid Reeves. I agree with you about Reeves. He has looked excellent. He's going to be out the next couple games, has some tendonitis in his knee, maybe a little more. But put this guy in there. This guy has a sweet shooting stroke. I've noticed that, and he has 3-point range.
He could drive at will. The kid has shown at the end of games on the road trip about a month ago, before he got knee problems, he could take it to the hole, and he could finish. Brian Shaw could never finish. Ooh. Harold Miner, he does the dipsy-do, whoop-de-doo, and he either gets fouled or he fumbles the ball. I agree with you. Reeves has all the makings of a point guard. But point guard is a difficult position to learn. Sometimes it takes a few years. But I say let's rush the kid's development, get him in there. And that could be a plus with Alvin Gentry, because Gentry seems to like the kid.
All right, well, we got about 1 minute to go. Let's check out the Heat's upcoming schedule for the next week. And let's look at the 28th. They're at Milwaukee, and then Chicago. Wait a minute, what's today's date?
We're there.
27.
We're at 28th at Chicago, and then at Denver.
Short month.
Before they, that's it. Happy March now, all of a sudden.
Right.
Before we come back to Washington on
1 o'clock game.
March 5th. That's a 1 o'clock game. There you go. At home. We know Harvey's going to be there.
Bagels and lox at the arena.
It's a good game.
Oh, joy.
Excellent game.
More reason to get out there. And let's throw the trivia question out. One more quick time here. If you know it in the next 30 seconds, give us a call. Name the first Miami Heat player to appear in the NBA's three-point contest. 454-6356, the number. No one knows it. If not, well, I guess we'll have it for you after the break. So
I know.
Hey,
I don't want to take this home with me tonight. I do not want to take this home.
Want to give it away. Harvey, thank you very much for stopping by.
Hey, it's been a pleasure.
Pleasure, guys. Thanks.
Always a pleasure. You got it, man. And
see you in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, yeah. We'll be back on TV3 Sports Live right after these messages.
So, whose influence are you under?
It takes so little to save our rivers and oceans for future generations. If we use less toxic household cleaners, we protect a little. Fewer lawn care chemicals, a little more. And recycling used motor oil gains us so much. In fact, there are many things we can do in our everyday lives that can help stop water pollution forever. Clean water. If we all do a little, we can do a lot. Brought to you by the Natural Resources Defense Council and the Ad Councils of the U.S. and Japan.
Excitement, vitality, togetherness, commitment for America's babies. To help prevent birth defects, they all come together in March of Dimes Walk America.
We're stepping out. Come on, walk America. Join us, step on. Join us, step on out.
You're watching Selkirk's Community Programming Channel, TV3 Hallandale.
Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high. Still I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so I rise, I rise, I rise.
Welcome back to TV3 Sports Live. Mike Laderman back with Ken Lewis, and here we are. Name the first Miami Heat player to appear in the NBA's three-point contest. 454-6356. Hello out there. Does somebody know?
And do we have an answer? Yes. Mr. Clinton, yes. Yes, Mr. Clinton. We're on the air. I can't talk to you now. No, it was not. Was it John Sunvold?
It was. It was John
Mr.
Sunvold.
Clinton? Hold on the wire. I'm going to send you back.
There's your answer. Thank you, Bill. Bill's, of course, too busy to run the country. He's so involved in doing the sports thing for us. Let's save baseball and let's answer the John Sunvold trivia question. There's your answer. You know what? Let's do the question again, see if anyone knows the answer. Name the first Miami Heat player to appear in the NBA's three-point contest. If you know the answer, give us a call, 454-6356.
Very kind of the president to call in tonight. Very kind of the president.
You know why? The 5th anniversary of this show.
The fifth anniversary
week that we've
show.
Been on. This is the, what is that, the gold or something? What
The
is
gold
it?
satellite dishes tinkling somewhere out there in Geo. Picking us up and taking us to strange cities, enabling President Clinton to call tonight.
Speaking of strange, this has been strange 5 weeks. I just got a feeling about
it's bizarre.
This. Just a feeling that it's so strange here. But 5 weeks.
Very strange.
Hey,
5 good, solid weeks. Good, solid weeks.
Of nothing but great sports. And let's look at some of the fond memories that we've had here.
Oh, yes, yes. A lot of highlights. Johnny Shivers we had
Johnny
call.
Shivers, oh, memories.
And then, of course, and this will be available on home video, we are going to avail to you the ski clip.
Ski clip.
Kevin Crossman is working right now on part 2 of that ski clip, and it will be aired sometime in the future. He's working on another special with Pete Schwartz involving underwater afro pruning, and he's going to get that
Big
out.
episode, the afro pruning.
They're doing things. They're getting things done. They're thinkers. They're innovators in this industry.
Moving with things. That's why they were here before. That's why they got us here now. And 5 weeks of great things like that. Hey, Randy Filardi.
Randy Filardi, a pillar of the community, one of the respected legal minds in sports.
Legalities, players, statistics.
No, he wasn't on ESPN Game Day, Filardi. We had Filardi right here. Can we get a close-up of this stool? This is where Filardi was. Can we get anybody? This is the stool that Randy Filardi.
5 weeks that we've had.
Randy Filardi, 2 weeks in a row, Randy Filardi was here.
Right there.
Nowhere else in the country. Randy Filardi, right on this stool.
You're saying his name wrong. Filardi.
Filardi.
Farty.
Okay, Randy Farty.
What a great 5 weeks.
He was a good man.
Had. You know, and let's try and make this show. It's been so special now. Let's try and keep it going, and let's still
entertaining.
Make it entertaining and special, so people want to come back. Should there be a week 6, which I doubt that's the way we're going, but who knows? Give us a call.
We're turning it over to the viewers right now. Any topic you want to talk about?
454-6356. Bring it in. Let's talk about golf here a little bit. You know, because you know when you're talking about a 5th anniversary. Golf clubs, huh? We're getting golf clubs. Golf Doral Ryder Open coming down to
the Blue Monster.
The Blue Monster, yes. And I know you've played it quite well.
Exciting. I've played
your little
it well.
mini version on the putt tour. We had the little.
I do have a 3 handicap. I am not boasting.
The Blue Puddle, and he conquered the Blue Puddle. Going down to see the other Blue Monster.
And for one reason only, the man, the Golden Bear, Jack Nicklaus. He is back in form. He has shown life. He has taken breath in the last 2 tournaments he's been. 3rd place finish in the Seniors Open the other day. And Jack Nicklaus with his best finish in 5 years at Pebble Beach 3 weeks ago. So I want to see something from the Golden Bear. He's traditionally done well at Doral. Really exciting. Everybody get down there. Good to see him. Ray Floyd.
He's old, though. He's old. Jack's old right now.
He's old, but you got to root for the legends in this game. You've got to root for the legends. He still brings the people out, the Golden Bear. And if he's competitive, and he said, I will not play golf unless I'm competitive, so he feels he's competitive, maybe we're going to get something out of Jack Nicklaus.
Let me throw this name out to you. John Houston.
John Houston,
Defending champion of the Doral. Can he hold off the Nicklaus types and Paul Azinger and Fred Couples is going to be down there in Miami.
Freddie Couples is going to be tough.
John Daly, is going to be down at Doral also, along with Nick Faldo, Tom Kite, a lot of big names coming down to play the Blue Monster. Nicholas, like you said, and Greg Norman will also be there this week. What are the dates on that, by the way? We're coming up, today's Monday, all day,
Yes,
isn't it?
usually most of these golf tournaments, you're pretty safe if you're down there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
That's about it.
That's where you want to go for these.
Making sure we're still on Monday today. You know, when you're celebrating a 5-week anniversary, you lose track of time.
It is
And that's exactly what we
5
did.
weeks. Is this the silver, the gold? What do they call this?
I don't know.
I mean, are we going to have
the pewter?
The pewter, the flannel. Listen, and I will say, it hasn't always been easy. We've disagreed various times over the show.
No, not too much though.
I mean,
really haven't.
You like Burger King, I prefer McDonald's. We've got our disagreements.
I never said
knew
that in public.
We knew that
I don't want to
coming
hear
in.
that again.
He doesn't want to
All
hear
right.
it. He's been
Hey,
volatile.
did he
He's
ever
been
go down-
flighty. He's been described as a lot of things.
Not
This
flighty
man,
though. Not
Mike
flighty.
Laderman,
Not
our very
flighty.
own.
Did you ever go down to a pro golf tournament and you see it?
How about the Grand Prix?
That's probably.
Can we get a doctor for her, please? Can we get a doctor in here?
That's
We've got a problem.
You know, if people don't watch it, God, this is really feeling strange to me.
The
for some
Grand
reason.
Prix. If you want to go down to Grand Prix, they're open 24 hours. They're located off Sterling Road. The Miami Grand Prix. Are we talking about auto racing? Emerson Fittipaldi. AJ Foyt.
Foyt?
AJ Foyt.
Foyt? What movie is that from?
Who else?
What movie is that from? Foyt?
It's, I don't know.
They're treating this like this.
We have a resident automobile expert on this show. He comes in every week. He's not here tonight, and we get grilled on auto racing on the Grand Prix.
Auto racing?
Isn't that what we're talking about with this Grand Prix that they bring up?
I don't know. Grand Prix.
We're gonna pass on that. I'm not for that. It's very dangerous to be in an automobile at high speeds. So everybody, buckle up, wear your seatbelt when you're out there, because I'm concerned about all of you.
I just know going down to Miami, it's havoc trying to get down there around Biscayne when they have that dang Grand Prix.
Real tough, and that new lane they opened up, that test tube.
I like
it looks
that,
like
though.
a space shuttle. You go over the whole city. You see just how beautiful this area is when you're on top.
You see the crime so well down there.
You see exactly what's happening. You see smash and grabs, home invasions,
You almost
all the
got
things.
lost. You almost got lost. We went down there, and I had to show this man just how to go on that new little one-way ramp. What is that?
Very impressed.
The carpool lane.
The Golden
Carpool.
Glades,
Golden
is it?
Glades
Is it
takes
called the
right
Golden
over the
Glades?
Golden Glades. You go straight over. It's beautiful. And, you know, what can you say?
It's exciting. It was very exciting, very scenic route. One of the most scenic routes you're going to take.
And that was one of the fondest memories that I've had with you in these past 5 weeks.
I
Actually,
agree.
4 with you.
Well,
But the show's 5th, you know.
I was.
You look back and you get a headache. I'm really not feeling that great or something lately.
You've
I'm
been
getting,
queasy. You've been suffering from amnesia, among other things.
I don't know.
Various types of.
Every time I mention that it's the 5th week anniversary.
5th week. For some, that is usually the week where a show gets launched.
We had Johnny Shivers on here, looking back in memories. I remember
Johnny Shivers was a
Great
good
phone
man.
call,
He's
great
Charlottesville,
phone call.
Virginia. Anybody
Going there,
overpassing
going-
through the Charlottesville area, we encourage you to look up Johnny Shivers, give him a call, mention TV3 Sports Live, and Johnny Shivers would be happy to talk
You
to
know
you.
what? Hey, I'm sure you've all had your fondest memories here with us at TV3 Sports Live. Please give us a call and share them with us. 454-6356. What was your greatest moment watching us here on TV3 Sports Live? And there's been many of them. Many. David J. Neal, Florida Panthers
David
hockey.
Neal, the real
talked-
deal.
The real
He was
deal
on the
Neal.
show. He was live again. The similar school that
chair, right
encompassed
there.
Randy Velarde.
Fulari. You know, we had that. We had other guests. We're missing somebody. Who?
I don't know.
Larry Bluestein.
Larry Bluestein
of the
was
Digest. Hallandale Digest was right here. We talked the same day we had Johnny Shivers.
And
Memories.
Randy Velarde, living
Fulari.
proof that fame will humble a man.
We've
Living
had-
proof.
You
He's a-
talk about memories. You really talk about
It was
memories.
memories. We've had. We've talked about topics. We haven't shied away from the controversial topics.
Never
The
shied
Barclays,
away. The
Barclays, the Tate Georges, the Ron Rothsteins. We've hit them.
That episode with Ron Rothstein went. That was the most in-depth that we've done, perhaps in the entire 5 weeks that we've been here. We're being bounced around, of course, from camera to camera. But what can you want? This is the
Testing.
5th week anniversary, and we're still trying to get the Kings help. But yet, this is Emmy winning. This is it.
Okay,
And we have a call coming in.
Do have some
So
calls.
let's see if they have their fondest memory here. Caller, you're on TV3 Sports
Hey,
Live.
what's up, guys? How you doing?
All
What's
right.
happening?
Who's this?
Hey, this is Frank.
Frank.
Frank, the real deal. What's up?
What's going on? The real deal, 50 Frank. Listen, You guys are making it seem like this is going to be your last show. What's going on?
Ah, Frank, you know,
Frank.
it's you know, you may think it's like the last show, but you know, I don't know. What can you say? I don't know.
Frank, fan support. It's just been. You guys have been the greatest.
Incredible, Frank. What can you say?
I said I wasn't going to break up here tonight. I'm not going to break up.
I know you guys are moving on to NBC now and stuff.
Oh no, Frank. Frank, hey, we wouldn't leave the community. We wouldn't leave Fort Lauderdale and Hallandale.
We love you.
Hey, we love
All
you,
right,
Frank.
Frank.
Thanks for your call,
you give me goosebumps.
Thanks, Frank. Oh
It's,
my, you know,
that's not good. I mean, the Columbia Space Shuttle, various things that have happened over history that you can equate that there's strong.
Where Kennedy went down.
There's the Kennedy assassination, both Kennedys.
What do you think this is? A dream or something?
Sirhan.
This is not
James
a dream.
Earl Ray. James, we're talking about Ted Bundy. We're talking about Charles Manson.
You got to bring up Manson.
The Exites. Things that have gone on in history.
Ruining people's lives. Big,
Woodstock 1 and 2. I can't even begin. You're all seeing this live. This is something in 25 years that you can play back. You can tell your grandchildren, you were there, you witnessed it, you saw it.
Absolutely.
Now, there's one thing I want to talk to you, because all you Dolphin fans have eagerly awaited my commentary about the Dolphins. Can we get a little pan in on a commentary here? Can we do that? All right, we're on. Eric Green came down for a tryout. The Dolphins do not want to sign Eric Green. The Dolphins need to get a serious handle on their priorities, which is defense. Eric Green, and take this from a diehard Steeler fan, even though I don't like to acknowledge that because of what happened with San Diego, but Eric Green is the football equivalent to one Derek Coleman. Eric Green decided at the beginning of this year that I'm going to sign a one-year contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers because I don't want to be a part of their future unless they're going to pay me all kinds of money. And I'm going to structure my contract so I can see what I do in 1 year and then test the free agent waters. He told them he wasn't committed. In other words, what I'm getting at is Eric Green is not a team player, ladies and gentlemen. Eric Green is motivated by greed and selfishness. And if you watch the game on Monday night against the Phoenix Cardinals, it was Eric Green, and if anybody was up that late, a lot of you had school and a lot of you were gone to sleep because you had your jobs to worry about. But of course, a guy like me who's up to all hours watching sports didn't have those things to worry about. And I saw Eric Green, when the Steelers were down by 3 points with under a minute to go, get a pass, streak across the middle in Eric Green fashion, which he can do, and ramble towards the goal line. And you know what else I saw? I saw Eric Green run out of gas. This is an NFL athlete being paid over $2 million, fall down at the 5-yard line because he had run out of gas. Now that is what you get from Eric Green. The man ran out of gas. The man fell down unmolested. And again, what happened then? The Steelers wound up kicking a field goal because if they're an inept goal line offense, they couldn't get the ball in the end zone. They wound up settling for a field goal. The game went into overtime, and the Phoenix Cardinals wound up winning the game in overtime. So it was Eric Green being out of shape that cost the Steelers a football game. And when any time a pro athlete being paid $2 million a year costs a team a football game, that's the end. The Dolphins need to wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up.
That was awful. TV3 SportsLive. TV3. Ken Lewis and guests and everything for 5 weeks. It was awful. It was awful. It was a nightmare. Oh, it was just a dream, though. It was just a dream. Just a dream. Oh, go back to bed. Just a dream. Okay. Just a dream. Ah.